Alright, y'all. It is time for another video. We are going to be discussing some things that Bernie has said in this video. We are not going to be discussing Bernie saying that a certain Spice Boy Horner should resign from Red Bull. It is interesting that he said that. No doubt. It is incredibly interesting and fascinating that he said that, but that's not what we're discussing today. I need to get some more information as to what exactly it is in particular that Spice Boy Horner is going to be charged with, or what case he's going to bust before I actually talk about that any further. But anyway, Bernie has said some things. He said some things about Sir Lewis Hamilton, so I've got to address it. I've got to address it. He also said some things about George Russell. What did he say about Sir Lewis Hamilton? He said that Sir Lewis Hamilton has failed in the 2023 season by not winning a Grand Prix. And he's also then added some spice on top of that by saying that Maximilian Verstappen would have won a Grand Prix in 2023 with that W14. Well, I got bad news for folks. I got some bad news for folks. No one was going to win in the W14. If Sir Lewis Hamilton didn't engineer a win somehow for the whole of Mercedes, George Russell could have won a Grand Prix and no one would be talking about Sir Lewis Hamilton having not won in 2023, quite frankly. And people don't have to actually believe that, but, well, I'm pretty sure that's what would have happened. People would have said the car was just that shit, and George Russell got lucky. Because where did George finish in the Drivers' Championship anyway? Anyway, Bernie has said a thing about George Russell. I'll be getting to that later in the video. But to start off with, he said that Sir Lewis Hamilton failed in 2023. He says Maximilian Verstappen would have won. Where would this win have come from? I'm so curious. I really am curious. Because, well, Qatar, people might say Qatar. I don't really believe a win was on the cards for Mercedes at Qatar. Even if the two Mercs didn't collide, I just don't believe a win was on the cards because you've got to catch that illegal Red Bull. I don't believe a win was on the cards at Circuit of the Americas because once again you have to catch the illegal Red Bull. And then that leaves Singapore. Now, I'm pretty sure it's going to be all the rage for people to discredit the drive that Sainz put on in Singapore. Sainz put on an unbeatable drive in Singapore. It's unbeatable. The thing that he did, that cerebral drive that he did in Singapore, is unbeatable. I mean, we could even question if Maximilian Verstappen, if that Red Bull wasn't neutered for that weekend, we could even question if Maximilian Verstappen would have won. People might say, oh, if the Mercs were swapped around, Sir Lewis Hamilton would have won. Well, at that point, we have to discredit the drive that Sainz put on. We'd really have to discredit it. I don't even rate Sainz that highly. I don't even rate Sainz that highly, but the drive that he put on in Singapore was impeccable. Most cerebral drive I've seen in F1 for a very long time. You would have to go back to the 80s to find a drive like that. Alright, yes, Michael Schumacher has had some cerebral drives. Yes, Sir Lewis Hamilton has had some cerebral drives. Yes, a Kimi Raikkonen has had some cerebral drives. Not really Alonso, unfortunately. But none of them have ever gotten close to what Carlos Sainz did. Not even close. Now, of course, things are different. There was no DRS back then. Alright, the DRS changes things, but at the same time, if there was no DRS today, people wouldn't even be talking about a win having been on the cards. People wouldn't have even considered it. It's how you're going to overtake in Singapore without the DRS. Anyway, so a win wasn't going to happen for Sir Lewis Hamilton. Where was a win going to happen for Maximilian Verstappen? Maximilian, he is the same guy that the sport had to engineer a championship for against Sir Lewis Hamilton. The whole sport. If he was going to fetch a win, you might as well say George Russell was going to fetch a win. Where would Maximilian fetch a win? And really, the kicker for this one is who would be driving the number one car? Who would be driving Maximilian's Red Bull? Are we cloning Maximilian? He's not beating himself. I promise you that. He's not beating himself if he's racing against himself in the illegal car. He's just not. It's just not like he would have to move faster than his reflection. You go to a mirror, try and move faster than your reflection. Try to outrun your shadow. All right, that's essentially what Bernie is saying. Oh, Maximilian Verstappen, he would have moved faster than his reflection. Okay. Give me that reefer, bro. I need some of that. That's some high grade these men are smoking. Some of the highest grade. But anyway, so Maximilian's not going to beat himself. If we put Sir Lewis Hamilton in that illegal Red Bull, well, let me be frank with you. Red Bull might have 100% of the season if Sir Lewis Hamilton was in that Red Bull for 2023. No, you don't need Maximilian Verstappen there 200%. He will do it with Perez. The disaster that Perez put on for the season. He will make it happen with Perez. And, well, that's something that a certain Bernie Eccleston and Maximilian fanboys just will not consider. They don't want to consider it. It's too painful. It's just too painful. So it's just a misnomer. It's just a straight up misnomer to claim that Maximilian Verstappen would have fetched the win in that W14. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. There is no multiverse where it fucking happens. It just doesn't happen. You're not going to have a Grand Prix where all the notable participants crash out and Mercedes just gets a parade to a victory. It's just not going to happen. The car was that shit. It was that shit. People aren't going to say it out loud that the car was that shit because Sir Lewis Hamilton has somehow managed to finish third in the Drivers' Championship, all things considered. Beating the Ferraris, beating Aston Martin, driven by Fernando Alonso. You see, I made a point in some prior videos that you can argue Sir Lewis Hamilton is 2023 world champion because these Red Bulls are illegal. I made that point. You can still make that point. You can make that point for whoever finishes behind the Red Bulls in this coming season, the 2024 season. You can make that point. I wouldn't argue with you. The Maximilian fanboys would have a very difficult time arguing with you. I got a brother on the channel come out and say, cope. I've asked him, what do I have to cope about? I'm hoping he responds. I hearted his comments to make sure that he sees that he's been responded to. Right? Show me that the trolls nowadays aren't half-baked. Come out with some real shit. He's not going to. I don't think he'll respond. I'm hoping he responds, but I don't think he will. But anyway. Alright, that Red Bull car is so far ahead of everyone else that Perez, with the season that he had, got to finish second in the Drivers' Championship. Now, you can run whatever narrative you want for Perez. Was Old Spice Marco threatening him with a good time because he's got his MK Ultra keys. Who knows? Who knows? Was his side of the garage silently sabotaging him because it looked for a second like he was going to put real heat on Maximilian Verstappen? Who knows? Did Dr. Marco with the MK Ultra keys just command Perez to drive slower than he normally would, drive within himself? Who knows? Is Perez just crap? Who knows? You can run whatever you want, really. It's of no import to me. It is of no import to me. The part that is of import is that Perez finished second in the Drivers' Championship after the objectively terrible season that he produced. And that is a marker of how far that Red Bull car is ahead of everyone with the miscellaneous amount of budget that went into that car. Because of course they ain't told us the real number. Well, I say that. Meanwhile, Spice Boy Horner and Old Spice Marco confirmed the 8 million over budget thing, but anyway. Anyway, that's not what was in the papers, right? Oh my days. They put anything in the papers and people believe it, but whatever. Whatever. So, what else did Bernie talk about? Because Maximilian's not finding a win in that W14. Dream on. Keep smoking that high grade. Fucking share some, bro. Fucking share some. Fucking life is too boring out here. And these guys are hogging the highest of the high grade that makes them think the most daft shit. Anyway, what else did... Oh, what the fuck else did Bernie say? That's right. He said George Russell is not as good as he thought. Now, no one was saying that after 2022. Nobody. Right, George, he was all the rage after 2022. Oh, he's finished ahead of Sir Lewis Hamilton in the Drivers' Championship. He was all the rage. People would run whatever they fucking could run in order to uplift George Russell and denigrate Sir Lewis Hamilton. There's societal reasons for that. I'll get to those in another video. Assuming this troll responds to me. Well, even if he doesn't respond, I'll still get to it in another video. But, well, there's societal reasons for that. It's not worth getting into. Well, for this video. What was the canon that was put out? So Lewis Hamilton said it out of his own mouth. He was running experimental setups for Mercedes. So he's been running goofy ass setups all season. This is why his car in 2022 was porpoising a lot more than George Russell's. And so George Russell got to finish ahead of him in the championship. It's all good. You can take that result as gospel. People took that result as gospel until all of a sudden, come 2023, Sir Lewis Hamilton is finishing third in the Drivers' Championship behind these legal Red Bulls. Where's George Russell? You're gonna have to run a Google search, right? Was he seventh? Was he eighth? It's a long way away from second, really. There was an Alonso ahead of him. There were two Ferraris. Maybe even one of the McLarens. That's a lot of cars between him and Sir Lewis Hamilton. I thought, with all the chatter people were putting out, that George Russell had beaten Sir Lewis Hamilton legitimately. It was all real. Right? George Russell got the win, even though Maximilian Verstappen sabotaged Lewis Hamilton's win. And yeah, I'm the first one to tell y'all that they tried to engineer a win for Sir Lewis Hamilton at the 2022 Brazilian Grand Prix. I'm the first one to tell you that. The Maximilian fans, they're not going to say that. The Sir Lewis Hamilton anti-fans, they're not going to say that. They're not even aware. They're not even aware that the apparatus is switching on in various ways like this. You see, I'm speaking to the Sir Lewis Hamilton fans because these men are now awake after watching 2021. They're now awake. They've seen a thing. They've seen the apparatus go mask off. So now I can teach y'all about the apparatus. But anyway, anyway, is George all of a sudden a bum ass driver? Well, no. No. If you go back to the start of the 2023 season, he was actually consistently qualifying ahead of Sir Lewis Hamilton. And then as soon as the B spec landed for the W14, and I've spoken about the characteristics of the car that changed and what made the car move away from George Russell's comfort zone, all of a sudden he wasn't able to keep up. And people are going to say that, oh, they pushed the car towards Sir Lewis Hamilton. Well, would Sir Lewis Hamilton be leaving Mercedes if that was the case? They just tried to make the car faster. Someone was going to lose out of the two drivers. That's just the way it goes. That is just the way it fucking goes. And with the nature of the change that they made on the suspension, it was going to be George Russell that lost out. He doesn't have the internal gyro to manage that type of fucking suspension setup. It's just the way it is. But that doesn't suddenly mean that George Russell is a bum. That's not what it means. I mean, George Russell, he's still in the top 4 or 5 of the new gen drivers who are going to be carrying F1 going forward. He's still in the rarefied air of the top 5. He is still going to have a full career in F1, and he will probably only be at top teams. Well, after his training arc in Williams, he's going to only be at top teams. If Mercedes were to drop him for 2025, let's just run this thought experiment. If Mercedes were to drop him, someone's going to grab him. It could be McLaren grabbing him. It could be Red Bull grabbing him. It could be Alfa Romeo or whatever the fuck they are. Sauber, Kick F1, whatever the fuck bullshit names they're running nowadays. It could be the future Audi team grabbing him. Are Audi still coming into F1? Who the fuck knows? But, well, George, he's not a bum. He's not suddenly a bad driver just because Sir Lewis Hamilton beat him. Sir Lewis Hamilton is just that guy. Sir Lewis Hamilton is just him. The great Sir Lewis Hamilton, officially 7-time world champion, should be 8-time, should be 9-time, should be 10-time champion of all time. Run whatever you want. Even, oh my days, even Spice Boy Horner let out a Freudian slip. And this was during the 2021 season. Right? He called him 8-time world champion. Why did he do that? Because he knows that Rosberg is not supposed to have a championship. He knows. It's not fucking rocket science. You think Horner just made a Freudian slip before Sir Lewis Hamilton even had an argument for the 8th world championship that was stolen by F1? It's a different thing with the Rosberg championship. Mercedes took that one from him. Right, that's a different thing. But Horner, he knows well enough that Mercedes took a championship from Sir Lewis Hamilton. You don't have to be a genius to come to that deduction. You just, it's right in front of you. Right, Nico Rosberg runs an engine for a 5th Grand Prix, and Sir Lewis Hamilton's engines are going pop on a single Grand Prix. Okay, all right, folks. Right, if you can't see that, then you might as well gouge out your eyes. They're useless. They're useless to you. Give them to donate those eyes, bro. I wonder if eye transplants are a thing. I should run that research. Anyway, this is who George is against. This is who George is up against. It was all fun and games when Sir Lewis Hamilton was running the experimental setups and people want to take the results as gospel. That was all fun and games. All of a sudden, come the 2023 season, Sir Lewis Hamilton simply runs simply runs a vanilla season and, oh, where's George compared to Sir Lewis Hamilton? All of a sudden you've got Bernie saying, oh, he's not as good as I thought he was. Really? Did you get that talking point from 4chan or what, brother? Where did you get that talking point from? Goddamn. Goddamn. Sir Lewis Hamilton beat all these men. Your Alonso, your Charlie Leclerc, your Carlos Sainz, your Lando Norris, your Oscar Piastri. He beat all these guys. All of them. Where's George in comparison to all of them? He's somewhere in the middle of the pack. He got lost in the shuffle. But I tell you what, that doesn't suddenly mean George Russell is a bad driver. You see, come 2025, or heck, even sometime during this 2024 season, who knows? But come 2025, all of a sudden, George Russell, he has to take the reins at Mercedes. When he start, you see, I'm saying when, right? When he starts winning Grand Prix, what? Are people gonna say, "Oh, he's not as good as I thought he"? Are people still gonna run that? That would be fascinating. I'd love to see that. Really, I would. I'd love to see that just as much as I'd love to see a response from this troll. Really, I'd love it. I'd love to see how people fix their logic to make that make sense. Really, I would. But anyway, let me talk about who I believe is going to be getting the Mercedes seat in 2025 that Sir Lewis Hamilton is leaving vacant. I believe it's going to be Kimi Antonelli. I don't believe it's going to be Rosberg coming out of retirement. I don't believe it's going to be Bottas. I don't believe it's going to be an Alonso or a Norris or what have you. It sure as fuck is not going to be Esteban Ocon, even though he's literally on a Mercedes contract. I'll tell you that much. It's not going to be Ocon. Why is it not going to be Ocon? He doesn't have the optics. He does not have the fucking... He's too hot-headed. Gets into too many accidents with his teammates. It's not going to be Ocon. It's just not. I'm sure Ocon would like to think that he's one of the favorites in line to get the vacant Mercedes seat in 2025. No, it's not. It's not you. It's not you. Matter of fact, Ocon, you are way down the pecking order. You're like the eighth option, the eighth backup even. So you're really the ninth option. All right. So don't get your hopes up. Keep your Alpine/Renault contract airtight, because you gonna need that, because you're gonna find out that Mercedes is locked off to you. I mean, they would have put him in the car instead of George Russell, but anyway. Anyway, so yeah, I believe it's going to be Kimi Antonelli. The only problem with getting Kimi Antonelli into the seat is that he has to acquire enough super license points. Now, do I believe he's going to acquire enough super license points? Well, there's no smoke without fire. When one of these hot prospects, the young hotshots coming through Formula 2, when one of them grabs as much attention as a Kimi Antonelli, it's generally not an accident. The driver is generally that good. The scout reports are generally correct. Just like the scout reports were correct on Piastri. Suddenly people are putting him ahead of Norris. He is ahead of Norris, but that was very quick. People put him ahead of Norris. That was very quick, the way people decided that. The way people with no knowledge decided that, I should add. So yeah, if Kimi Antonelli wins the F2 championship, I believe he has to win it in order to get the super license points, although something different might happen, who knows. But assuming he wins it, he is getting the Mercedes seat. It's as good as signed and sealed already. The only thing that might happen really is that he gets delayed by a season. Who will Mercedes put in the seat then? Who knows? They might put Sainz in the seat. They might put Grosjean in the seat, Romain Grosjean. They go retrieve him from IndyCar. Toto Wolff makes good on his promise that he gets to drive a Mercedes. It was just going to be a test drive, right? Well, he's going to get the full drive. And well, we'll just have to see what happens. But yeah, Kimi Antonelli is my favorite to get the seat. I don't really see anyone else being an option for Mercedes. If Mercedes are forced to pick someone else, it will really be a 1 year thing. A temp, really a temp hire. A temporary hire, and that's it. Someone will get to say that they drove for Mercedes F1 for just 1 fucking year, and they'll write a whole fucking book on it. That will be their whole legitimacy test for their post career or what have you. And that will be that. But anyway, that should be the vid. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Peace.